The Prime Minister told the Senate Finance Committee that he pushed back when he heard that We Charity had been chosen to run the Canada Student Service Grant program.
When the recommendation came forward from the public service, I sent it back to the public service to say, you really need to make sure that this is indeed the only organization that can deliver this program and that this is done exactly the right way.
Still didn't recuse himself, though. All right. Once again this morning, we are joined by the Globe and Mail's Laura Stone. So we just heard that clip. And again, that's the crux of the issue. If he knew enough to push back, he didn't know enough to recuse himself from the vote. And that seems to be the question we did not get answered yesterday.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. That's right. And it was deemed by one of the opposition MPs yesterday as an unnecessary scandal because that is the new piece that we learned yesterday from the Prime Minister's testimony, that he himself pushed back. He himself had concerns that this could be perceived negatively in the public because of his family's connections to his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, hosts a podcast. He knew that his mother, Margaret Trudeau, and brother, Alexandros, have spoken at events. And so the Prime Minister said he was aware of all this, and yet he pushed back and he said that he himself only learned about running the program on May 8th, which was after the charity had even started working. So the timeline there was really interesting, but that is the big question, Anne-Marie. As someone who the Prime Minister has already been found twice to have breached the ethics code, you'd think he'd be sensitive to these issues. And yet, even when he had his own concerns, he did not recuse himself from the conversation.
Well, and that seems to, again, still be part of the conflict, is that he's had 3 inquiries now. He doesn't seem to see a conflict until it's too late. And again, we didn't get any clear answers around that.
Well, the Prime Minister said, look, he might see that there is a perception of it, but he didn't believe that it was indeed a conflict of interest. And he brought up the fact that his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, had been cleared by the Ethics Commissioner to participate in events and to participate in the podcast. So he believed he was kind of insulated there. And I think his argument is that because he didn't know was even running it, and he completely denied having anything to do with choosing the charity to participate in this student grant program, that he was not in a conflict of interest because of that. Of course, we've already seen him apologize and admit that it was a mistake not to recuse himself from this conversation.
Yeah, 2 different versions of the definition of conflict. Aside from the Prime Minister, the members of this government that have testified in the We Charity deal are Finance Minister Bill Morneau and the Minister of Diversity and Inclusion and Youth, Bartosz Czegor, and of course the PM's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford. Pierre Poilievre asked this question yesterday, who's going to get fired? Is anybody likely to take the fall for this other than the Prime Minister?
It's a great question, and I think it depends how much more of this unravels. We know that the committee wants to hear from others in the Prime Minister's office as a result of yesterday's testimony, but those would be people who are obviously more junior than the Prime Minister and his Chief of Staff. We've heard a lot of political watchers talk about Bill Morneau and the mistakes he's made, and he had the bombshell revelation in his testimony that he actually had repaid We Charity more than $40,000 for a trip that he took that the charity said was actually free. So now he's under investigation for that. I think people are wondering whether this is the end of Bill Morneau as the finance minister. And of course, the Chief of Staff at all costs must protect their boss. We saw what happened with Nigel Wright, for instance, in the Senate scandal with Mike Duffy. He resigned as a result of that. So at all costs, these people want to protect the Prime Minister. They want to protect the government. Are we there yet that anyone has to resign or take the fall? I don't know yet. But certainly this is doing damage to the Liberal government's brand.
Laura Stone, good to hear from you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.